Hey, thanks for tuning in to Interactive Indies, a bi-weekly community podcast featuring stories from game developers and other creative individuals. If you would like to support the people who help make this podcast possible, please consider checking out our Patreon page. For only $2 or more per month, you're able to make a sizable impact on pretty much everything we do. Alternatively, you can also help support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel and helping us reach our first 100 subscribers. So, on today's episode, I sit down and have a conversation with Justin Ladia. Justin is a Winnipeg-based illustrator and graphic designer who works with the Uniter as a staff illustrator and was 2017's Volunteer of the Year. Justin also works with Ai-Kon Winnipeg, which is Manitoba's largest anime convention, as an assistant illustrator. As well, Justin is also the city host and organizer of PechaKucha Night Winnipeg. So, without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Justin Ladia.
Big balls of fire. All right.
This episode of the Interactive Indies podcast features guest Justin Ladia. Justin is the, PechaKucha?
Yeah.
The city organizer for PechaKucha?
Is that what it's called? I think it is. I think it is like city host and organizer.
City host and organizer.
That's it.
I know you're also involved with Ai-Kon as well?
Yeah, the Manitoba's largest anime convention. I am their graphic designer currently.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a bunch of anime nerds just hanging out, myself included.
As well as, what is it? Is it the U of M?
I was at the Manitoban, but now I'm a volunteer illustrator at the Uniter.
Is that not
it's U of W?
It's U of W.
It's the University of Winnipeg. I went from one university to another, even though I graduated from the University of Manitoba. So it's, it's a thing. I betrayed my alma mater. I'll just say that.
Okay. What are some, those are the things that I think are probably the most visible. But I think it'd be interesting to kind of cover the things that people don't know as well. What are some other things that you're involved in outside of PechaKucha, outside of the Uniter, and some of this graphic design work that you're doing?
What else? Well, typically...
Or does that cover it?
I think it pretty much covers it. I mean, there are a bunch of other. I do freelance graphic design as well for other clients. So there have been other really cool opportunities that I don't know if I'm at the liberty to discuss right now. I'm not sure, but yeah. Other than that, I'm pretty open. So all of that stuff that you mentioned is, in fact, what I tell people that what I do or who I am or whatever.
Okay, so that should give people a good idea of from the outside who Justin is.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's pretty much saying that I'm always doing something.
Yeah.
I'm always busy doing something, which is great.
It seems like graphic design is one of those things where you could perpetually be working on stuff, in your professional capacity, in your free time, in your not free time, just all the time, because I know a lot of graphic designers that fall under that category.
Right, and it is something that I think I just do, even if I'm not, if I don't consider it work, it's just what I do. It's just part innately of who I am. But I know there's a bunch of people that say that your profession isn't necessarily what defines you, and it's not your part of your identity, but it's just, I guess it really is just being about being creative and wanting to just produce and create things, create more than I do consume in terms of cultural currency and stuff like that. I'm rambling.
You're allowed. This is the place to ramble.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it's just, I just need to be making things, and that's the way I like to make things.
So where did that come from? Where did you learn, or maybe learning is not the best word, or where was that developed? Was that something that was passed on from your parents, or did you go to school and you learned that's what you were passionate about through school or your parents?
I don't know. Okay. let's get into this. Okay, give me 1 second. Give me a second to remember these things.
No, it's all good.
So I don't know exactly when it started, but I do remember there are very few memories that have stood out that I think pinpoint to me being more creatively directed or focused. Like I used to be like obsessed with like there's this American channel called Nickelodeon. I don't know. There used to be this one show called Legends of the Hidden Temple, and I love game shows.
I don't know that one. Oh,
No?
it's a game show.
I love like game shows. Kids game shows are crazy, and like I was obsessed with this one where it's like these kids like run through a temple and they try not to get caught by temple guard. Anyway, it's amazing. And so from that, and like there's this other one called like Masters of the Maze, which I don't think aired. I think it aired on YTV. Whatever. The point is, like, I used to draw like one of the earliest memories of my creativity is like me drawing like floor plans of these like mazes that people run through, just like in these game shows. And I'm just like, oh, in this one they have to like solve the riddle, and in this one there's an obstacle that'll be like too hard. And so, yeah, there's that. So,
Seems like you would be a fan of escape rooms then.
oh, funny you should say that. Yes, I am a fan of escape rooms. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of escape rooms. I've actually, like, fun fact, there used to be this, what is it? This initiative run by, what was it? Winnipeg Arts Council? I think it might have been, where it was called the Creative Placemaking Challenge. I developed the sort of identity of that, like the look and whatever of the documents and whatever. But essentially, what I wanted to do, it wasn't like in vogue yet, but I wanted to take the point of. I should explain what the initiative is. I'm rambling again. The initiative is you take. They're proposing that there are several alleys in the city in the Exchange District that are underused, and so they wanted people to propose interventions to go into these alleyways and do something fun with it. And like I wanted to participate in it. I didn't think that I had the capacity to do it at the time, but I wanted to create like this speakeasy, like escape room in one of the alleyways before like the first escape room sort of came to Winnipeg. I was like, oh my god, there's this concept. It's like this thing where you solve puzzles and you have to escape in time. And then another fun fact, this past month I went to the first escape room in Japan, and I was just like, yeah, I was in love. It was honestly I didn't go in. I didn't
So it's not just like a North American thing. Like,
no,
it's a trend across the world.
Oh, okay. Let's get into the history. Hold on. Let me tell you the history of escape.
Yeah,
rooms.
we're going on an escape room tangent right now.
Listen, I've been following this history for a long time. Okay, so the escape rooms have been popular as video games. First of all, in Japan, starting in the early 2000s when Flash was still a thing.
I was going to say, I remember playing a lot of Flash games that were, like, escape rooms.
So it's that. Like, there's this one particular called the Red Room, the Crimson Room, that I think sort of was the most popular one that set it off.
Right, yeah.
And so it just, the trend keeps going. Like there were websites in the early 2000s that sort of, had like links to like all these games that came out, and it's like it became this like phenomenon like that was more niche. It was very culty, but to this day, like I still look at these websites and be like, oh, what's the new escape room from Japan that I can play today? Which reminds me, I need to do that today. I haven't done that in a while. Yeah, so that became a thing, and then the first one was started by this company called Scrap, and they are a Japanese company. I don't remember what their first room was. I think it's like some sort of generic puzzle room. And I looked into that like 5 years before this whole thing started, like an approximation, like 5 years before the whole like phenomenon started. And I was just like, oh man, that looks so cool. I want to do that. I don't have money to go to Japan right now though, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, so Scrap made it popular. They made, I don't think this has happened in Winnipeg yet. Actually, no, that's a lie. It has happened. But they even went so far as to make this like large-scale escape event in a stadium.
Event.
Like there's this huge like baseball stadium that they played it in, where they have like stations for puzzles and whatever. That actually has happened in Winnipeg already once.
An escape event.
Yeah, by Gibraltar.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah, and I did the poster for them.
Okay.
So, escape rooms are in my blood. No, not my blood. It's just like something I'm really obsessed with. And so, yeah, they popularized it. It came over to San Francisco. They brought the first ones to bring it to North America. And I don't know how it went to Europe, but Bulgaria, for some reason, has so many escape rooms. And now there's like Red Bull is doing this like escape room championship where teams from around the world get to compete and be the best at escape rooms, I guess. But yeah, that is from what I know, the unconfirmed history of escape rooms, I think. At least the modern history. Anyway, back on topic.
So you've dived like quite a bit into this.
Oh yeah, I'm obsessed with games. Like that's why I play video games. That's why I go out of my way to find experiences that are game-like, and I like try to make things that are game-like so that people can experience it better. I can't do that with everything, obviously, but it's a huge part of my life.
It seems like you would have a good approach to making a interactive game, not necessarily just like an escape room game, but with that kind of background, do you think of like how you could apply that to a video game?
Yeah, I think so.
I know you've been to a few game jams.
Yeah. I've been to a few game jams. Thank you. Thanks, Daniel, for organizing them. I think so. I mean, the most successful escape rooms are the ones that have a plot that is not necessarily linear, but it is logical, right? And so, I've learned a lot, like from just playing games, like what a good storyline is, and how that sort of approach to, from like going from one to another to like those kinds of like the progression in a story or an event or in a plot. I've applied that in design to sort of figure out what the best way is to reveal certain things and like I like to think that there's like a holisticness to everything, and so when it comes to my work as an illustrator and designer, I like to take elements from things that I've done in the past. Like the first ever video game that I've played. No, actually, that's not true. That's not the first one I played. My most favorite video game that's the earliest is like Myst.
Okay, I'm familiar. I haven't played it, but I'm familiar with that one. Yeah,
and so that has like that is very dependent on stories and like puzzles to get through, and that I think set off like my love of like puzzle logical type games and whatever. And so like I took like a lot of the surrealism from that game where it's like a hugely surreal game, and sort of tried to apply it in my design work and in my illustration work. And it doesn't necessarily feel like the same thing when I make it, but like there are elements in there that are influenced by that sort of thinking.
Okay, so you have kind of taken you've taken that like background from the different things that you've been experienced to, and you do apply it to your work.
Yeah, and I think most artists and designers do that.
Yeah,
like they have to take it from somewhere. It doesn't like work in isolation, which is why I try my best to like experience a lot of things as much as I can, because I don't know how a successful designer can survive without having to go through many different life experiences. You know what I mean? Like traveling is important. I was just in Asia, and that was super inspiring. I'm sure there's going to be something from that I take from and use in my work later on. And yeah, just like being knowledgeable and experienced and taking in culture and like things from culture, like video games being one of them, obviously, and like books and movies and television, all those things.
Yeah, how do you... I'm glad that you brought that up, because I'm always really curious how creative people facilitate their creativity and where you pull things from. So obviously you've already mentioned you pull from escape rooms and some of those game shows from back in the day.
Yeah.
You've already begun to mention how traveling can influence your creativity. Are you able to kind of elaborate on maybe traveling is a good one? Like you can talk about like your trip, how it influenced your work.
Right. I thankfully, from one of my employers in the past, have I've been lucky to go traveling with them to different places, and most of them are in America. And there have been a few places where I've been by myself or with friends outside of North America, which is great. I think it's important to experience like perspectives outside of what you're comfortable in. I think it's the job of the designer to, I think, push the envelope a little bit. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily like go all the way and like bring people outside of what they're used to. It's just,
right.
I think it's our job to be able to bring people into different experiences without actually like, you know, like you bring them into an experience without actually bringing them to the place.
Okay, so is it fair to say by traveling you're putting yourself in that position?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You're in a better place to apply it to your work and have people receive it in the same way that you're experiencing traveling, for example.
Right. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that traveling does. Like, there's other things too, like seeing how design is taken from like, or how it's approached in other places. Like the way design is approached in Japan is completely different to the way it's approached in London and in New York and in like where I was just at, Dallas.
And one can pull from the other. It's not just you pull from there and they're just kind of doing their thing. They can pull from here.
Yeah. And like places like Japan that have different like typefaces, like they have to use a different language altogether and a different way of writing.
Ah, right, yeah.
Right? And how do they approach, like, this is super pretentious now, but like how do they approach like the way they read their own language? Because like sometimes in Japanese books, right, or a lot of the times they'll have their language sort of goes vertical. Yeah. That's right. And it's read from right to left if you're reading manga or whatever. You have to sort of approach design differently that way as than we would here in North America, where we go left to right, top to bottom, and then front page to back page being left to right instead of right to left.
So that'd be an example of something that influenced you while you're like, where did you go?
Where did I go?
Yeah, on your
trip.
Do
you want to know? Okay, well, I spent 3 weeks in Asia. So the first 9 days was in Japan. I went from Tokyo to Kyoto to Osaka, and then I went to Hong Kong, which is a completely different experience. And then from that I went to Seoul, which again was a different experience, but all of them had like things that I can pull from.
Okay, so you went to more than just Asian countries? Like I believe you went to.
I've been to
on this trip.
Oh yeah, on this trip.
This trip was just Tokyo, Hong Kong, and
South Korea,
everything in between.
Yeah, and then there's this, and then I went to Dallas for a retreat. Okay. For a corporate retreat where I worked. So yeah, no, that's it was like there's so many different things from it that I can pull from.
I feel like there's so many layers to going traveling to places that are outside of your kind of your bubble where you live, especially like creatively. But I mean, even outside of that, just being somewhere else and just kind of getting a break. I don't know what else that does for you. That's
true. But I'm kind of stubborn and I don't like taking breaks, even though I know it's good for me. I should be taking breaks.
I'm finding a common trend between like really talented artists that they don't take breaks, because there's someone that I know who is very proficient artist, but there are aspects of this person's life. I've had conversations with this person, and it just seems like, unfortunately, sometimes they sacrifice some things, but it's one of those things where the price of greatness comes with like sacrifice. I don't know. I'm not justifying one thing or another, and I'm not judging the way that someone chooses to live their life. I think it's completely up to them. Yeah. But having said that, I think it's important to like balance your like mental health, your physical health is like really important, and I think it's great to be a good artist, but maybe not at the expense of your mental, physical health.
And I agree with that. Yeah. So there are periods of time where I definitely have to stop. Like I've had periods in like the recent past where I was just like, you know what? I'm okay with not doing anything right now. I'll just lie in bed, watch my Korean reality TV shows, like look at Reddit and like see what RuPaul is up to or whatever. And yeah, no, but the reason why I brought that up was because like on this trip, I didn't just like go out and enjoy myself necessarily.
You didn't?
No.
Why not?
Well, the reason why is because I don't know why I got into this or how. I think it might have been from school, but like every time I go traveling, I have to take my SLR with me, and like I take it too seriously almost, but I don't consider myself a professional photographer. Like I go out and take photos mostly, and like I really try to make sure that I'm capturing like the essence of a place through my photos.
So you're putting a lot of energy into trying to capture that.
Yes, so that's what I mean by like.
Oh, okay.
Not really trying
that's
to.
That's interesting because it's like I would imagine it's still fun.
Yeah, it's super
still
fun.
Like, is it also relaxing? But
it's a different exercise. It's a different
that's
thing
a good way to
altogether.
put it.
It's like it helps me with my ability to create as a designer. Let's just say like it's a different way of thinking, and practicing a different side of it will definitely help like other parts of my sort of sensibility as a designer. But it is actually to me like a really therapeutic, relaxing thing because you're like
photography.
Yeah, because like you have to go through. You have to go you're in this strange place. You don't know what's going on, and you sort of have to find moments that you can appreciate to like take a photo of. Like you have to be completely aware, almost like all the time, to see like, oh, could be a good moment. This is another good moment. Because the way I take photos isn't necessarily about like just taking places, just taking like post photos. Like I want to be there like at the moment where something that doesn't seem like it's much at the moment, when you take the photo and you see it in photograph, it actually is like this really endearing, like nice moment.
That's something I like about photography. I think I would agree with everything that you're saying. Is I like the subtlety in photography and the ambiguousness that you can put into it.
Yeah, and
just kind of. I can take a photo and I could have an intent behind it, but someone can interpret it however they want. And I really enjoy that whole process, like that it kind of I don't know. It's hard for me to articulate it because it's more of an expressive thing for me and less of like a literal thing that I can explain.
Same, yeah.
Like kind of, I just wanted to go off with something you mentioned when. I take a photo of something and I interpret it a certain way and I want to capture that moment. Even if people don't understand what my intent was, I still appreciate it because I think the perspective on anything, on art or creativity is really cool because it's outside of like I have a perspective.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm rambling now.
No, but I get it because like you could take the same exact.
It's just hard for me because it's more of a feeling to me than something that I can explain.
Like you can be in the moment with someone else who's taking the same photo, and the way their photo turns out is going to be completely different to the way your photo turns out, even if it's the same exact thing. Because it's like you're trying to capture something specific about that thing, and they're trying to capture something else. Right?
Are you familiar with the book Ways of Seeing by John Berger?
No, but I remember you talking about it at a PechaKucha talk. Yeah. Funny you should mention that.
That's pretty much where that book had a big influence on me. And that's kind of why one thing that I wanted to get into that you've sort of gotten into already, what things influence your creativity. Yeah. That book for me was huge because it opened my perspective to more than just my own. And the great thing about it is that it can apply to my life outside of art or outside of being creative. Right. So like think of someone's perspective that is maybe underrepresented or comes from a different background or a different place. Like a good example is like in the city, you have certain privileges especially in certain areas of the city where others don't. That book kind of gave me an understanding of that.
Yeah.
But as it applies to art, it showed me the characters in a painting, for example. What is the relationship between them?
Yep.
You can perceive that however you want, and that that perception changes based on who's looking at the painting, right? And if there was another example in there where one of the characters in the painting was like looking out of the frame.
Yep.
And it's like, are they looking at the painter who is painting it, or are they was the painter intending for that character to be looking at the viewer of the painting? And I like to apply that to my art all the time now. So that was huge for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, to go back to your travels and the photography, and I don't know if there were any other aspects of the travels that kind of influenced you.
Right. I don't know. Like, I think it's just important to be able to feel like nothing is familiar to you. You know what I mean? Like, when you are in a foreign city by yourself or with friends.
Are you good at putting yourself outside your comfort zone?
I didn't used to be.
Okay.
And then I started working at Republic, where the architecture firm, and then it was like, I had to force myself to be okay with it, and I got to a point where I was okay with. I mean, this might not be a big deal for most people, but for me it was. I was able to take a day by myself in London. And I would normally be like, oh no, I just want to be like with my friends so I don't get lost. But like, I did just fine. Like, I was just like there. I was enjoying myself. I was by myself. I got myself lunch. I ate by myself at a restaurant. And you know how scary that is sometimes, right? Eating by yourself at a restaurant and people can see you, and it's just like,
I don't like eating around people.
Oh, you don't?
No,
I get that though. I do.
It was like an experience I had growing up where my dad was a very loud eater.
Like how? Like.
Yes.
Oh.
With a grape. Yes.
How do you, wait, pause. How do you do that with a grape? Like, this tiny little thing you can like.
You know what's funny is like, this is kind of, I'm thinking now.
Yeah.
Like, my dad will probably end up listening, so I'll probably.
Oh, hi, Dad.
I don't know.
Ooh,
I don't know what. No,
it's a bit loud.
No, it's good. I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it in because it's real. So, yeah, we'll see. Anyways, we'll see if it's in. You guys know it's in because you're listening to it now, I guess.
Hi, Mr. Voth.
There you go. But
you have a great son.
Yeah, I'm all right. Where did we? What was it?
Talking about like being a stranger, eating.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, no, it was fine. Like after that experience, like I become more and more comfortable with just like pushing myself out of what I think is familiar, and like I've discovered that I don't like being in one place for too long. You know, because of that. I don't know if it's because of my experience traveling or whatever, and going outside of my comfort zone and being so used to that I don't know anything else now that's as good, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or am I just like that kind of person to begin with and I didn't know until like that happened? If you have the capacity to travel, if you have the privilege to, because it is a privilege to be able to do that.
Yes, very much so.
It is, right? It is a privilege. So if you have the opportunity to, and you have the means to do so, take the opportunity to do so. Like I had to inspect mentally and financially whether I could do the whole Japan thing. But like I turned 30. I was like, I need to gift something to myself because I made it to 30. I had the means to do so. There was nothing really restricting me from wanting to do that other than the fact that it's like a strain financially, and like I'll be living out of a suitcase for like 3 weeks. But like those are minor problems, and the payoff from actually having to experience it is greater than what's the word I'm looking for? Not the what's the opposite of benefits?
Disadvantage?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, the disadvantage.
That doesn't seem like the word that we're looking for. But
people listening to this will know what I'm talking about. I'll let them fill in, like, figure out what the word is, I guess. Comment below if you know what the word is.
I was just going to say that.
Anyway. So yeah, no, if you have the chance to do so, like, do so. Well, this was in relation again to... Oh, you just asked me, like, final things about, like, traveling and stuff. Yeah. No, and if you want to see my photos, you can follow my Instagram at JRLadiaPhotos.
They're good photos.
Are they?
Hey, they're good
I
photos.
think they're okay. I would try. But, like, it's not, like, amazing. But, like, I like the reason why I put them up is because, like, I like that moment in time. Mm-hmm. Not because, like, I think it's, like, artistically, like, whatever. It's just, like, a nice, like, moment that I captured.
Do you find if you're taking photos while traveling that there's a certain aspect of it that takes you out of the experience?
A little bit. No,
So you're kind of sacrificing, like, is that
there's something about living in the moment and, like, capturing the moment, right? You have to sort of balance living and capturing in the moment, like, somewhere. You have to be in the middle.
A good example I think of is when people take recordings of concerts. Mm-hmm. Like,
absolutely not. No, I would never do that. No, I don't understand it. I mean, I guess I get the whole thing about wanting to capture the experience and, like, relive it.
That's not technically different than taking a photo of the, like, Eiffel Tower in Paris, right? Like,
it isn't, but it's a performance versus a landmark in a way. And I don't know how I feel about capturing someone else's work.
Okay.
In a video than, like,
referring to the concert.
Yeah, like, okay. say like it's something someone else did, and then I don't know. I'm still trying to reconcile why I don't like that.
I don't do it anymore because when I looked back at some of the content that I had shot from cell phone recordings, because it's always cell phone recordings, and it's always, like, low quality and it's always janky. I looked at the video and I'm like, I'm probably never gonna watch this ever again. Sometimes the only reason I'm watching it is because I'm trying to clear up space and, like, just clean up my like files and things like that. So then I told myself, well, if this is what I'm doing with it, then I'm just not going to do it at all. And then I stopped doing it.
Right.
And I just lived in the moment. But I don't do that with photos. If I see a moment, I will stop and capture that moment.
Yeah.
Even though I do the same thing with the output. A lot of times, like, I have so many photos on my computer. Some of them, I post the best ones on Instagram, but a large amount of them don't get posted anywhere.
Yeah.
So is that, like...
No, that's what I do, too. No, not at all. Like, I mean, I don't like staging photos, but there's a part of it that is, like... you're manicuring something particular and showing a particular thing, right? You're choosing the right perspective because you have, like, this. For me, I think it's you want to tell a specific story, and the story you want to tell can only be told through this one photo. And you might have taken, like, 400 photos before of the same exact thing.
I guess you can't tell a story at a concert.
No, you can't tell a story at a concert. The story's already being told for you.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Interesting.
But in like, say you're just living, you're just, like, going through life, you're, like, exploring the place. Like, the exploration is the story. The fact that you discovered something here is good. Like, the fact that your friends are, like, making out in the background and you found out, but you don't want to tell them. Actually, that's really creepy. But anyway, the point is that you're telling a different story if you're just, like, living through it and you're trying to capture that particular moment versus, like, capturing the same exact moment through a cell phone in a concert. And, like, I realize also why I don't like it. It's because I'm short. And
Concerts? Concerts?
Yeah, I'm short, right? And so, like, everyone stands at a concert. I don't go to concerts anymore.
Yeah.
Ever since I was 12, I stopped going to concerts. Okay. Except this one time I went to, like, jazz festival here in Winnipeg, and it reminded me why I hate concerts. It's because I'm so short that taller people block my view.
What are you trying to say?
I'm not saying you do this. I'm just saying a lot of people are taller than me because I'm 5'5", and like I'm below average height.
Are you trying to say I'm not welcome at your concerts?
Not my concert. Well, you're welcome in my concert because I'll be standing on stage and you can like be there, and like the other shorter people can gripe about being like too short.
Anyways, sorry.
But like the cell phone thing sucks because it's like taller people already like blocking my view. Then I have cell phones to deal with. You know, they'll be holding up their phone in the air, and like, okay, great, I get a view of the stage from someone else's phone. Fantastic. You know what I mean? Like that also happened when I went to Buckingham Palace, and there was the changing of the garden, whatever. When I went there, there's this whole parade, and like it was crowded AF. My friend said that I did not look like I was having a good time. So
I hate when people say that to me.
Right?
Like,
and I was just
whether
like, I feel
I'm having
bad.
a good time or not, like, if I'm having a good time and I have that face, and someone says that to me, it makes me feel that way.
I feel bad about it too when people say that, because it's just like I'm enjoying the fact that I'm here existing in this moment, but like sometimes it's just like you're not in the ideal conditions to enjoy yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like that was the thing. So like it was raining. There were people with phones in my face. Selfie sticks were hitting my head, and I was just like,
oh God.
Girl, this like that's the worst part of tourism. It's like when you go to touristy places, you get like other tourists bothering you and whatever. You're getting everything you're like absorbing is catered. Yeah, exactly. And so I just like the Buckingham Palace story is funny because like I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make the most of this. The experience right now is me being displeased about everyone having their phone out. So instead of me taking photos of what was happening at the palace, I took photos of what was happening in the crowd that I was stuck in. I did that too. I did the exact same thing. I was somewhere in I can't remember where, it was Germany or something. Yeah. It was like this. Oh, I totally can relate to this. Oh my God. There was this like I can't remember where, but there was this clock tower where it had this clock that does this. It had this. Was it a spiral building? Like it was a glass dome or something like that? It doesn't matter. I don't know. But it had this what's it called? Elaborate like diorama thing where like characters would come out and it would chime. And I remember walking through the crowd. Everyone had their phones pointed up, and they're all looking up like zombies. And I was just walking through the crowd, and I actually took pictures of the crowd instead of like what was happening. Of the thing. I also took pictures of the thing. Yeah, I mean, like, you have to. Yeah. But I like those photos because it looked and it felt like a zombie kind of situation because everyone's just like, and it was funny because it wasn't like there's nothing interesting going on. It was just like it was like a tourist trap, and people were just like eating it up. And the interesting thing is that it is a tourist trap. Like the interesting thing about what you took is like the fact that people were so entranced by this thing. And the story you wanted to tell was like the same thing I wanted to tell when back Buckingham Palace, where it was just like there's just so many people here looking at the same exact thing, taking the same exact photo. So I took photos of people's umbrellas, like just the canopy of umbrellas, because I was like at an angle elevated from everyone else, and I took photos of people's phones as they were taking photos. It's one of my favorite photos to take, is like people taking photos of of things. Okay. Me taking photos of people taking photos. Yeah. That's like, it's such it's so basic, but like I enjoy doing that anyway. So like the what you were trying to do is the same thing I was trying to do, and like showing how something about society, something pretentious about society. They'll be like, oh, we're all doing the same exact thing at the same exact time. Another place that is bad for that, or whatever the word is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. People taking doing those photos. Like everyone's just I've seen photos of people, like just crowds of people just doing this. You know? And when you like when you alter the perspective a little bit, you can just see them like. It's like when you see someone taking a selfie. No disrespect to people taking selfies, because like you should love yourself, honestly. Yeah. But like when you just see it happening, and you're not the one taking the selfie, it's just like, okay, you know, or like recording a video of yourself like with your phone out, and you're just out in public. There's a YouTube video of a guy that was in at the Leaning Tower of Pisa,
where he would just go up and give people high fives that were at their
I love
backside.
it. That's so good.
Yeah, right?
I want to be that guy.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to do things that are outside of your like day job or the thing that allows you to live your life and be able to afford things? So
right.
like, you do design as your kind of as your what's the word
like
as your career,
my vocation.
Yeah, your vocation.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So photography is one of those things that you do
yeah, for fun.
for fun.
I never claimed to be a professional photographer because it's just practice for me. Like people have asked me, it's like, can you take photos of me for this thing? And I'm like, leave it to a professional, please. Like, don't ask me to do it for you.
How important do you think that is to do things that aren't your vocation? And what other things do you do outside of photography?
Right. Instead of like, other than like drawing and like graphic design, stuff like that. It's important.
Again,
as
I guess
a designer.
escape rooms are good.
Oh yeah, I love escape rooms. Did we already talk about that?
Yeah, I just love it.
No, it is really important, especially you can look at it in two ways. Like as a designer and an illustrator, or as a creative person, it's important to be able to make things in a different way, right? Because it's a different practice doing photography than it is to like draw something. They're related in some way because you're making images in some way, but you're making a photographic image, and when you're doing photography and you're doing like illustration or a logo or an icon if you're doing graphic design and illustrating. But I've always thought that, you know how in math and science there's like this one thing that they're trying to find. It's called the golden equation, where like it's the equation that solves pretty much every sort of mathematical problem or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's what it is. I think there's the same, like there's a scientific method. Like there's always like a method to doing anything scientific, right? Like apply those principles into like design, where it's like you might be practicing in different ways, but the method is still the same. Like the scientific method for creativity and design. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's legit, but like I've always thought there was some sort of like common thread amongst all kinds of like creative practices. Okay. It's not always going to result in the same thing, but it has like commonalities in the process of art and design and illustration or whatever it is. As a person, it's really important to be able to come out of your comfort zone, because it's like you just develop to be a better person. Really, that's just pretty much it. Like I don't know what better is, but I know that you end up going through experiences that, like, if you go through experiences that are beyond what you know, then you know more. You push the boundary, right? If you go outside your boundary, then you create a new boundary outside yourself, right? Like you have the circle. This is like if you draw a circle, that's what you know. You go outside the circle, and suddenly you have to draw a bigger circle to contain yourself.
Ooh, I like
right?
this.
So the more you push yourself out, the more dominance you have over and knowledge you have over the realm.
So that would be the benefit to doing things outside of like so like if
that's
you're
a simple way of explaining it. Like
so if you're a swimmer, to like maybe go running or to do something completely different, like just do puzzles and jigsaw puzzles, and that all falls under kind of what you're talking about.
You're just like creating more of you're allowing yourself to create a bigger space. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's hard to really like explain that, but
does this kind of also tie into making sure that you're taking care of your like mental health too? Because if you're just because you mentioned earlier that you work too much. So my thinking is, because in my life, I feel like it doing these extra things that aren't related kind of balance your mental health. So I don't know if you get a similar kind of
right. I don't know if anyone has mentioned this before in previous episodes, but like everyone is, I guess a lot of people who make things are now really, really aware of what's called burnout. Right.
That's essentially what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Like burnout is real. Like it's a huge killer. If you don't take care of it. Like if you leave it and you continue to like allow yourself to burn out, then I mean, I've done this before. Like I tried to push through some things.
No one's perfect.
Right, exactly. And I tried to push through burnout and like actually continue to produce despite the burnout, and it's just like it's just crap. Like you make crap when you're burnt out. It's also like it deteriorates it's unkind. It's unkind to yourself. You have to be able to you have to be nice to yourself if you want yourself to be nice back. You know what I mean? It's like the golden rule, like do unto others as you would do unto you. Like but do it like apply that principle to yourself as though you are a different entity. You know, would you there's this one post that I've seen on the internet about like, would you tell your best friend if they're going through a hard time that they just need to push through, or like I don't know, like if they're having a hard time and they're like, hey, do you give them a hard time back? Like if you were your own best friend, would you do that? You know what I mean? I'm rambling again. No, but do you get that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorta.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, burnout is my friends and I'm part of a group of people that are artists. Like Amy Girardi is part of it now. We were a smaller group, and a few more people joined in. Amy's one of those people now. And one of the biggest things that we talked about one of the evenings was about...
Oh, it's like a meetup group?
Yeah,
cool.
We call it a crit group. Like, it's just a bunch of artists that come in, talk about what they're doing, show what they're working on, whatever. But yeah, we talk about burnout and how like that affects just like your perspective on yourself. And like the more you do it, the more you feel like awful about not being able to create because you're so burnt out or whatever. But then like that's a sort of a vicious cycle sort of thing, you know what I mean? Like you want to keep creating, but then you create something that doesn't look good or it isn't up to par because you're burnt out, and then you try to keep going anyway, but then that doesn't look good because you're burnt out, and then you're just like, there's no end to it. So taking care of yourself and recognizing the signs of burnout and being able to just stop and be like, okay, I need a break. I need to just not do anything. I need to live, actually experience, take care of myself. And that's super important. Like I've done it. I've been able to recognize burnout, thankfully, and I'm now okay with like just like being like, okay, break time, can't do this right now, and I feel like my work has been better for it. Let's just say.
I think it's a good message.
You think so?
I think so.
I don't know. I just think like, yeah, I guess.
What advice would you have for people that are trying to follow maybe a similar path such as yourself? Like just
oh my god, which
creative?
Path?
Graphic design.
Just graphic design. Okay.
And in general, just things that they're passionate about. Like, what could you take from your experience and kind of?
There's a lot because like there's many things that I wish I knew, and when I was like maybe 20, and when I knew now as a 30-year-old, because that's in the 10 years that I've tried to become like something.
Yeah.
I learned that it's okay to just not be something sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it's okay to just be like, just explore who you are as a person. Like I had a huge identity crisis when I was like 24, 25, trying to figure out what I was about and who I am and like what I represent. But it doesn't have to be like a black and white answer necessarily. Gray zones exist and they are real, and it's okay to be in one. You don't have to figure it out. Sometimes it just happens, and yeah, just like being kind to yourself is like the best thing you can do as a creative individual, really. Like ingest things, like consume culture, take things in as they come, but be kind to yourself as you keep like creating and do stuff. Because like I feel like a lot of creative people are critical of themselves.
Yeah, probably overly so.
Right, but like the only person that's really criticizing in that way is yourself to you. You're like the harshest critic, right? So like you would beat yourself up the hardest over anyone else. Maybe that's not true. Maybe there are people like who have like professors that are just like, this is the worst thing I've seen it. No, you deal with criticism anyway. Anyway, whatever. The point is you have to be kind to yourself, really.
Right. As we kind of close it off here a little bit, there's a few questions I like to end with.
Okay.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
If heaven exists, the joke answer would be, "Yes, queen, come through. Yes." That's the joke answer. Like, is this the same question as, say, I'm going to ask you a question back before I answer.
Okay.
Is this the same sort of idea as, like, what would you like people to say at your funeral? That sort of thing? Or is that
Kind
just...
of.
Okay, you got
What
it.
would you like to have been said about your life, like, when it's all said and done?
I don't
It's kind
know.
of like that's encapsulating...
What I would like is to have, like, made some sort of... Like, I want the work to be recognized, essentially.
Okay.
The work behind trying to enact some sort of societal change through creativity in some way. Because that's what, in short, what I do for... What I think I do for PechaKucha is that. Like, getting... Like, telling these stories by other people. Or having stories... the stories of other people and giving them the stage to do so. Like, what you're doing here with this podcast, essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, very much so.
Like, I want the sort of the work behind that and, like, the sort of effort put into that to be recognized at the end. I don't know if I'm going to be successful with all of this stuff that I'm trying to do, but, like,
Right.
at least the effort, you know, just be like, oh, yeah, you did good, son. You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know. Like, I just, you know, there's the other thing is wanting to have made a difference in at least one person's like output or their viewpoint or their life in some way. I've heard it maybe once or twice now that it's like, oh, you've changed how I think or whatever. I'm like, oh, really? That's great. Like, I don't go out and expect that from people.
Right. Yeah.
But if it does happen, it's like it's a great feeling. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, have you ever heard that from someone? Like,
I've had people. I had someone come up to me after a presentation and say I did a good job. Before I had given any kind of presentations on any kind of basis. That was nice.
Right.
That felt cool. Someone said that to me, and obviously, the more involved I get, the more that these opportunities kind of come up. But it's more so the ones that kind of stick out are the ones that happened before I was
involved in anything. Yeah, and like...
But I appreciate everything, of course.
Of course. Like, the moment that you get that is when it usually
It makes
happens.
me want to pay it forward to other people.
Right?
That's what it makes me want to do, which is partly why I'm doing this podcast series is I want to give other people a platform, as many people as I can, as much diversity, as much different perspectives and people from different backgrounds, because they all have a unique perspective that are outside of my own. So
yeah, and like you can't do something like this without having
community of people.
Yeah, exactly.
People, yeah.
Like the moment, what was I going to say? There was something about inspiring other people, and like it just happens. Like if someone tells you that they're inspired by what you do, it's not going to happen when you try to inspire people. Also,
right.
It's like it happens as you're just doing your thing, and when you fully believe in something and you put in the work and the effort to do it. It gets some people take notice, not everyone, but there will be people that notice, and the people that do are the ones that you do it for. You know what I mean? Right. And so at the end of my life, I'm hoping that I've had enough people to have noticed that a change has been made because of what I've done, and that's my every now and then I'll think about like, oh, if I died right now, would I have left something behind that people can build on, right? Because I think any sort of industry or profession has something to do with building upon a legacy of someone else, right? Like, even in restaurants, so like you're in cuisine, you're like building up like a culinary culture that and passing down things as, you know, from history. And I'm hoping that with art and design, whatever, that I'm able to leave my perspective and like have someone build in that perspective and get inspired through that. Then that's the end goal, really. You know.
I think that's a great answer.
Right. Okay, good.
I think that's a good note to lead on or lead off of.
Yeah.
Or whatever the expression is.
You got
Anyways, I wanted to thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. It's really great to have to know more about where you come from, your view on certain things, and your perspective. I think it'll be really great to have people listen and to kind of spread all these different perspectives around and kind of bring everyone together in this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Not just this literal conversation, but across the board. Anyways, if people are looking to follow you, where can they find some of your stuff, like Instagram, social media, website, stuff
well, first
like that?
of all, you can find me under a bridge. No. I'm just kidding. So dumb. No, just a little dumb. It's fine. Let's see. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JRLadia, LADIA. Facebook, I don't have a public thing there. You can also look at my photos of my travel photos on JRLadia_photos. There is a website, but at this point, I don't, to be honest, I don't think it's going to be done by the time this is up. It's justinladia.com. Yeah, I think it's Twitter, it's Instagram, Facebook.
But the website's great because it'll have links to everything else.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You've seen my website then.
Yeah, I was looking at it yesterday.
Yeah, all of my social media links are on my website at justinladia.com. So thank you for reminding me about that.
Other than that, thank you for listening to the Interactive Indies podcast. You can find it pretty much anywhere podcasts are available. interactiveindie.com. And what else? I feel like I'm missing a few things here.
Comment below if you know what that word was.
Yes, I remember. This podcast is possible thanks in part to people like yourself that are coming on, everyone that's listening. Daniel Bergman does a lot in regards to post-production and editing, so he has been a really great asset to be involved in this. Daniel Blair from Bitspace Development, as usual, is just really supportive of the community. And other than that, I just wanted to thank everyone for listening because I really appreciate being in a place where I can facilitate conversations and have different perspectives on, and I look forward to talking to as many people as I can. And with that, I wanted to thank you for your time, and
Thank you, Daniel.